Hi, everybody. I'm at the Dakota Ridge baseball field in the shadow of my press box. Yes, I'm not above that in the accomplishments of the baseball team, the retired numbers, the late Kevin Hannigan, the late Brady Hoose, and the longtime coach Jeff Legault, now the AD at Dakota Ridge. Here today to talk about a little baseball, and this is the place to do it while Dakota Ridge is on spring break, Golden's on spring break, Regis on a bit of a break themselves, Regis University. And I've been thinking lately about how my interest in baseball has always been kind of counterculture. Like I'm counterculture. I don't like, for example, how people who act like idiots and cause fights get attention. That kind of thing. And where my interest in baseball has always been counterculture, for example, back in the late 90s and early 2000s when I was going to Summit Ridge Middle School, a mile or two from here, and then here at Dakota Ridge. And how I loved baseball at that time, the late 90s and early 2000s. I couldn't get enough of it. Loved the playoff races that I thought were much more exciting than in most sports, because even then, it wasn't always, at least in most sports, it wasn't always about the best teams. It was about getting as many people in as possible. But in baseball, it was at least still about getting the good teams in the playoffs. And to see good teams battle good teams, that was fun. And I just always loved baseball. Loved watching it, the whole thing. But most of my peers, and I mean most of my peers, completely disagreed. They thought baseball was too slow. They thought it was too boring. Thought it wasn't violent enough. The kid who thought he was a friend of mine, but really he was anything but, gave me grief about baseball on a daily basis. Just did not care for it. And let me know about it again and again. Thinking that was doing me good, I guess, but certainly wasn't that. And then I think about after high school, rest of the 2000s into the 2010s, 20-teens. And there might have been a bump in the road here and there. I wasn't always thrilled with the second wild card. I whined a lot about that when it first came out in 2012. But still, I still loved the game as a whole. The 2000s and the 2010s. I still loved watching the game. I still loved seeing good teams battle for playoffs, even with the second wild card. Second wild card stressed winning the division. But still, most did not agree. And in the World Series oftentimes, unless it involved the Red Sox or the Yankees or, of course, the Cubs breaking their 108-year drought in 2016, the World Series felt like an afterthought. It felt like a non-event sometimes. Or maybe not a non-event, but certainly well behind football. And that was tough. So now enter the changes of recent years. Changes I've whined about, and I still can't say that I'm in love with. Cannot say I'm thrilled with a pitch clock, because I'm not. I think it's more distracting than anything else. The universal DH, now there's no difference really between the American League and the National League like there used to be. And when you throw in that now everybody plays everybody else, because when interleague play first started, it'd be the AL East and the NL East, and Central versus Central, West versus West, and then they'd alternate it year by year, Central versus West. You get the picture, perhaps. But now it's just everybody plays everybody, more like the NBA schedule than anything else. And then there's the 12-team playoff that I've never cared for. And look at last year. Cincinnati was below 500 with 11 games left and went on to make the playoffs. The first non-division winner in a full season to be below 500 that late in the season and still make the playoffs. And then the Detroit Tigers, who blew a double-digit division lead but still got in the playoffs as a third wild card and almost made it to the American League Championship Series. Those are feats that just don't really impress me that much. And add in the launch angle and sabermetrics and stuff that certainly knocked my interest in baseball down a little bit. I can't deny that, certainly at the major league level. But that doesn't seem to be the prevailing thought. TV ratings for baseball in recent years have gone way up. Attendance has gone up. And the recently completed WBC World Baseball Classic won by Venezuela in a thrilling game over the United States. That did very well in TV ratings. Another example of being counterculture. I don't love the changes, particularly the pitch clock in the playoffs and the way interleague play is today, but others love them. Just the way that goes sometimes, kind of like when your favorite team doesn't always win. That's life sometimes. And now I think about what's to come next with baseball. There's talk of making the WBC in the middle of the season. There's talk of maybe an in-season tournament like the NBA has. Talk of expansion, talk of realignment, and given the fact that I think the American League and National League are just name only now, because there's no difference between the two leagues, really. No difference in the rules, and they play each other all the time. It's almost like so what now for me in that regard in terms of expansion and realignment, the potential for those things. And then add this to it. Could baseball stop its momentum with a work stoppage? Very possible. Collective bargaining agreement expires after this season. Owners want a salary cap. Players aren't nearly as enthused. There's different leadership at the head of the players' union, the two sides, players and owners, who I don't know that have ever really been the best of friends, but now don't seem to be at each other's throats more than ever. I mean, every ballpark in the major leagues could look like this when opening day comes around next year. Empty. It's tough, but at least I think a very distinct possibility of that. Doesn't mean I'm right or that it'll happen, just a belief that I have. And I know my interest in baseball is not completely gone by any means. First game of the season is tonight, which I can't watch because it's on a streaming service, but tomorrow I'll watch more than my fair share of games when the season begins in full. And I know I'll pay attention through the season. I just feel like there were better days. Growing up in the 90s and 2000s, like I mentioned, and the late 2000s had some fine seasons, the rise of the Tampa Bay Rays, the very improbable run of the Rockies in 07, the Rays run in 08. I mentioned the Cubs World Series win in 16, the Baltimore Orioles nearly winning the AL East, but making the playoffs in 2012. Ichiro Suzuki back in the day, Greg Maddux. Some good players way back when, and good times in baseball I certainly miss. But that's just my belief. I know my beliefs, again, don't fit what everyone else thinks, and that happens sometimes. I'm not going to go after those who feel differently. That's their beliefs, too. Just part of life, and just thought I'd share those thoughts on, as again, I'm recording this on the night the Yankees and Giants officially open the baseball season, and the day before most of the majors begin their season. I thank you for watching, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Good day, everybody.